Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville is a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with Michael Phillips.
We are excited today at Dadville to have Michael Phillips, this just incredibly handsome, well-dressed man, way overdressed for this Dadville.
Can I just make a comment on the outfit?
Yeah,
this won't be
please
interesting for our listeners because they
may
can't
be.
see you.
It may be.
But it's like your outfit looks great. Couple thoughts. It's all blue, and I love that. I normally wear all blue. I have a splash of color today because I have black pants on.
Right.
What I love is the jacket underneath the blazer.
Yeah. That's pro move.
That's a pro move.
That's a man.
That's a move that I feel like I couldn't do that.
Well, that's a move a responsible man looks at the Weather Channel is what he does.
It may be just out of necessity.
Unlike my kids who every day, and when I say every day, I mean literally every day, throughout the calendar year, come down in shorts and a shirt.
Wow.
So
his boys wear soccer jerseys and what do you call it? Uniforms?
Every day.
Soccer uniforms.
I have to tell them.
I assume they put like shin guards on in the morning.
Well, if we hadn't hit them. But I mean, it's ridiculous. Like this morning, it's 25 today? Like my third, who's home for the day with my wife, was like in a soccer outfit. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't care. Yeah, you'll figure it out. It'll happen. That was a non sequitur. So, Mike, we always start with reading the brag sheet, the bio, and this one has its heft too. So, Michael Phillips is passionate about helping people live better lives. His determination to drive social change with lasting transformational benefits to society has led him to become an innovator and thought leader in social entrepreneurship and education. He is a founder of Life Prep and certainly, I can't even read your bio. Okay. Currently serves, I'm doing great, as a Chief Engagement and Fulfillment Officer for the T.D. Jakes Foundation, a guy who's done a couple things in the world. As an author and inspirational speaker, Phillips has become a champion for children and families around the world. He is chairman of 50 Can and serves as a board member of Curious Ed. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. That sounds like a really great MC name, by the way. His powerful story and message of collateral hope has transformed many lives and helped to revitalize community. He and his wife, Dr. Anita Phillips, live in Dallas, Texas. One of the things I want to say quickly is I also share this affliction of having a doctor wife.
Oh, wow.
Which is always fun when you get mail.
Yeah.
Mr. and Doctor. I'm like, okay, that's a strong flex, everybody.
It is.
She always lets me know.
She does?
Oh, yeah. She'll show me the envelope. Like, Dave, I don't know if you saw we got something to the doctor.
Mr. and Doctor.
And I'm like, they don't give Doctor of Love, or I would have gotten that. So something we always ask is, like, how do you, when you hear that, the things that you're doing and accomplishing, like, how do you feel hearing that? Like, how does it make you feel?
I always feel like I am on borrowed time.
Wow.
Simply because there were so many hurdles, so many barriers.
Wow.
So many difficult seasons, protracted seasons of difficulty.
Yeah.
That it's amazing that I'm sitting in this seat.
Yeah.
It's just incredible that I'm getting to do the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What a great way to say that. One of the things that we're so excited about with this, and I laughed with John, I was like, I feel like we need to apologize for this because your story is so compelling. The trick of, we were laughing about this with doing, press tours and the things you're doing right now to promote the book, which is amazing, which is called Wrong Lanes Have Right Turns. But one of the things that is so amazing about you is your story. And so I was laughing with John. I was like, how do we do this where we don't, like, he's just got to tell his story. And you've done this a million times.
Right.
So I feel, because like John and I know it.
Right.
But, a lot of these listeners won't. And so I'm like, it's just like, again, forgive me for saying, will you tell us your story? But there's just no better way to do it.
No.
Because it's a great story.
Yeah.
You know? So
I don't mind.
Yeah.
This is why I'm here.
Yeah. But I just wanted you to know that, like, there's always a little bit of guilt because we know it. And I'm like, we could just ask a lot of questions. John was like, he just needs to tell it. It's just too good to not be told.
Well, when I was reading the book and I'm like feverishly taking all these notes and I've got all these questions about like the education system and, your upbringing in Baltimore, all that kind of stuff. And then I quickly become like so overwhelmed. I came over here to Dave's studio this morning, and I'm like, I think he just got to tell a story.
Instead of us like gently guiding you through it,
right?
And then let's talk about your teacher and the lawyer. Good, great. Just tell the story. Yeah. So would you just sort of tell everybody?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I grew up in Baltimore, area called Park Heights. If you're familiar with the Preakness race.
Oh yeah.
That's my neighborhood.
I like that's your way to white relate to it.
Right, exactly. right. So I figure everybody will kind of know what that is, right? As a matter of fact, we were little kids. We would park the cars.
No way.
For Preakness High, you made a little extra money.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you're like 10 years old.
Oh my God, it's like barely
parking somebody's car.
That's amazing. I love that.
Or somebody's lawn.
Yeah.
And but that was my neighborhood.
Wow.
And that's kind of where I grew up. And so Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods, and what I mean by that is, you could be in a 2-block radius, and it's its own little neighborhood.
Wow.
You go 2 blocks over,
and it's another one.
It's a whole nother neighborhood. But it's all in the same area. Mm-hmm. But go on those other 2 blocks and see what happens. Like,
really?
Oh yeah.
Oh
wow. It's like
wow.
You're not from here. Like, dude, I live 2 blocks down the road. And that's kind of how.
Similar to our neighborhood.
I was going to say, yeah, squashing a lot of beers around here.
Right. And that's how Baltimore is, and to its beauty, it brings a closeness, right, with the people who are around you, but also it gives you a lot of bruises at the same time, right? And that was kind of my upbringing, and so I want to date this because it's important to put this in context, because some people read my story and be like, they give me the sorrowful eye, like, I'm so sorry for. I was like, okay, this was like 30 years ago.
Right.
It was a long time ago.
Right.
And so, so this is, the 80s, right? And there wasn't a lot of opportunity for people who look like me. Growing up in that particular area of Baltimore, unfortunately, literally across the main. One of the main roads, Northern Parkways, completely different community. Like, it's all Jewish community. There's a beautiful golf course called the Suburban Country Club. We used to ride our bikes up there, to exchange our bikes for better bikes.
Exchange. Yeah, I like that. That's very well put.
A community-run exchange program.
Exactly.
Literally community-run.
A bike laying out in the yard, we just trade.
I've never heard someone so eloquently put it. Exchange.
We just exchange, like, I don't want this bike anymore. I'm going to get that.
Amazing.
So that's what we
getting that mongoose.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so, I would often ride up to Suburban Country Club and just look at, the golf courses and people playing golf. And it was just like, what is this world?
Man.
What is this world? And then I would have to go back to my reality. And
what were you thinking when you were looking at the golf course and the golfers and all that? Are you thinking like, I want to be part of that world?
I kind of did, because the greens look so lush and beautiful, and I didn't have a yard. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We had a yard. It was just dirt.
Yeah.
People trekking through it all the time.
Parking cars.
I was going to say, it was a Peakness parking lot.
Exactly. Right. So, it was, and you had an alley out back. That was it. And so I wanted that. I wanted to see that green in front of my house.
Wow.
So that's why I would go and just look at it. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And then also I wanted everybody was happy.
Wow.
Everyone's laughing, they're just having a good time, enjoying life. And it's a few blocks away from my house.
Right.
Okay.
God, that's got to be so bizarre.
Yeah. And I have to go back to, just working class families, trying to make it, trying to, find the ends, let alone make them meet. Right. And do whatever they have to do to take care of their families. But seeing that reality didn't always look happy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or joyful. Right. Or carefree. And it seemed to me that this was, as a little boy looking at the two worlds, I didn't want my world.
Wow.
I wanted this different world, but I couldn't access it. Right. So I would visit it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would visit it and just look at it. And I was looking for what success looked like in my color
Wow.
because I didn't see it.
Wow.
Right? I saw it on billboards with a guy, smoking a Newport or pack of Cools or
Right.
Crown Royal.
Right.
Right. And it was like, okay, or an athlete, right? So either I have to run fast, jump high,
Wow.
to access that world.
Yeah. Was there any version of that? I mean, like, what was the most, like in your neighborhood, what would have been the thing that you would have said, this would be the standard of success in this neighborhood?
So that's a great question, because at first it was my dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So my dad was that measure of success for me. He was that model of manhood. He was my hero. He was just amazing. He was a full-time truck driver and a full-time pastor.
Jeez Louise.
Right?
Which is one of the questions I have is just literally, how did your dad do that?
I don't know. Because really, so my grandparents, I want to give you the full context. My grandparents built a church from scratch. Like literally.
Okay.
Like,
In your neighborhood?
oh yeah, we lived next door
Oh, wow.
to the church.
Literally. Oh, my gosh.
So the church is here. Our house is here. People can't see my hands. So sorry, everybody.
They're imagining.
So they were in close proximity one to another, right? And so we lived next door to the church, which is a whole nother set of trauma because when my dad started pastoring the church, he moved the Sunday school into our living room.
Oh my gosh.
And so I would wake up in the morning, come downstairs,
People are there.
just to get some cereal, and they're praising the Lord. I'm like, listen, bro, I just want
too
some
early.
Captain Crunch, man.
I feel that. I need some cocoa pedals.
And this is the 80s. This is 80s, charismatic. We came out of Holiness Pentecostal movement. My father got a hold of Word of Faith and became a charismatic Pentecostal, right? Broke from denomination.
Wow.
And started the independent church in the 80s.
Dang.
And it became what would be today a mega church.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So he has this mega church, which they don't have a name for back then.
Yeah.
And he's still driving his truck, right?
Jeez,
so it was people everywhere all the time. And they were, epitome of holy roller, like Tamarine.
Oh, my gosh. Like you're walking through and people blessing you on your way to breakfast. Like,
and I'm
bless
like, if y'all don't leave me alone right now, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the environment I grew up in my
It's
home.
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere,
right?
yeah.
And so when he died, I was 12 when he passed. And he had a stroke and a heart attack and he passed away. Didn't take care of his body. It was sudden.
Jeez.
He didn't take care of his body. He was under a lot of stress. He was overweight.
Wow.
He had high blood pressure. These are all the things that happened that no one could explain to me at 12.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So everything was God.
Oh, yeah.
It's Lord's will, and God gives that. And so I'm just like,
Yeah, that's a lot.
I couldn't reconcile that, right? The way he talked about God and the way other people talked about God. I could not reconcile the two.
The two, wow.
And so that made me blame God.
Are you saying his was a more tangible, like you understood your dad's theology?
Yes.
More than the community's?
Yes, because my father's theology was all about restoration.
Wow.
Other people's theology was more about retribution.
Look, brother.
And so it was about, God's going to punish you if you don't do this and if you don't do that. And my father was always saying, that's not God. God is not punitive, right? And when he left, without me having an answer for why he left, all I could do was listen to the punitive view.
Yes.
Right? That God took him,
Yeah.
right? Which is a punishment to us,
Right.
right? In that sense, if you take that theological framing.
Yeah.
And so, at 12, I'm like, well, shoot, scrap that.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with God, church, or anybody else.
Yeah.
I'll do my own thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I decided to do. So the guys on the corner became my models.
Jeez Louise.
They became my new heroes. because that's what success looked like in my color.
Gotcha.
Right.
These guys had the car. They had the gold chains. They had, back then it was tinted Cressidas and Trans Ams and with rims on it. And I'm like, I want that.
That's what I want. Yeah.
And they loved me. They knew I was, the preacher's son, and they always looked out for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like they wouldn't let anybody mess with me. They give me a little money for running errands. But there was just one guy's name was Raymond. So my dad died. He really took me in, like really, and just he owned a store on the corner that he ran drugs out of.
Oh wow.
Right, but he was a very successful man to me.
Yeah.
And he was nice.
Yeah.
And he was always putting money in my pocket.
Yeah.
So, guess what?
Yeah.
I want to emulate that. And
where is your mom right now? Like, what's happening with her? Is she seeing this?
So my mom, is trying to grapple with. So let's go back. So my dad died. It sent a lightning bolt through my family, right?
Yeah.
And
you have a sister?
I am the youngest of 4.
Okay.
So my older brother, 2 sisters, and then it's me.
Okay.
So the day of the burial, the funeral and the burial, my brother, who was 16, 17 at the time, walks off. And I didn't see him again for like 5 years.
What?
Like he literally just walked away at the burial site, and I didn't see my brother again for 5 years. He became addicted to heroin.
Oh my gosh.
And my sisters dealt with it in their own way, and my mother is trying to manage
hold it all together.
All of that,
Jeez
right?
Louise.
Along with having to now provide for all of us in some way, and simultaneously keep some shred of the church intact.
Yeah.
Right? So she's into all of that mix, and actually she, became the pastor. That's a whole other story.
Jeez.
And so when she realized, when she started to see me really embrace this criminal lifestyle, she moved us.
Oh my gosh.
She moved the whole family. Took us out of the city completely.
To your new,
exactly.
To your new
and we moved to an area, a suburb of Baltimore called Columbia, and Columbia is halfway between Washington D.C. and Baltimore.
Oh,
it's
gotcha.
literally halfway between both spots, pretty much, and it was culture shock to me. Because one, I had never seen, if in my area, if you saw a white person, they were either a police officer or some type of social worker.
Oh wow.
Or a teacher, or perhaps a principal in the school. That was it.
Or playing golf.
Or playing golf.
Yeah.
Right. You can go over to the Jewish side and you see everybody
exchange
playing golf,
some white people.
and you could see the Orthodox Jews, doing their thing, and it was kind of part of the neighborhood, and it was all good. And that's what you saw. But in Columbia, it was like, what?
You had to be one of
what is this?
Yeah.
And it was like a utopia. It was, it was all different cultures, all different backgrounds. And I just wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to acclimate to that environment. As a kid.
One thought I have really quickly that I think is important for me to remember, and I think probably a lot of people listening, is I think there's always, we're going to get to this in a second because I think this is one of the most profound things that you say, but it's easy to think, well, let's just get everybody that's in trouble, no matter the culture, nationality, out of the trouble.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, okay, that works. But what you don't realize is that these are our homes.
Right.
Well, the
This
way
is what
that
you're
you
used to.
wrote about your neighborhood, I thought was so beautifully written. I mean, I thought you did a great job of really letting the reader in on how you felt about your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of its beauty and violence.
Yeah.
And all of that. And I remember reading about where you were talking about go into that corner store that was right next door to the apartment complex where you never were supposed to go.
Right.
But and talking about how dangerous this was, but this was the corner where you saw joy and you saw the people, your friends and your the guy Raymond, how complex that was. He's not the he's the corner drug dealer, but he's like looking out for you, and he was a good guy, and it's just kind of complex.
Like, it's not that
so.
when you move out, all of a sudden things are fixed.
Yeah,
that's the point. Like, it's not like, let's get this troubled kid out of his, and man, we get him in this nice little neighborhood, and all of a sudden he's like
problem solved.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like,
Yeah,
it's like someone he's, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's something we have to remember. Is like, it's not as easy as just transplanting people out of things.
No, because everyone wants a sense of belonging. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
that community gives you,
exactly,
no matter what the community is.
No matter what it is. And so you move out of that sense of belonging into a new environment where you really feel like you don't belong.
Yeah.
All you want to do is go back to, the space that you were once in. And think about it this way, when we're all born, we cry. The reason we cry is because we're forced into a new world.
Yeah.
We're coming out of a place of comfort to a place of discomfort. That's how it feels when you have to move from everything you know, okay, to, oh my gosh, what is this, right?
So were you, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and last point, as you said in the book, like, you didn't see anybody that looked like you, which immediately is wildly uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So were you kicking and screaming? Did you?
I
not
did.
want
I
this
went
move?
out every time I got a chance. I went back to my grandmother.
Oh yeah.
Like I beat it back, and then the church was still in the city, so it made it easy for me to go. You know what? I am going to stay at grandma's, and that way I could rip and run and do whatever I wanted to do.
I so feel for your mom.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what else could she do? The way you wrote about going down to the corner store and how you were talking about, I forget the exact quote, but you were talking about your mom, and you knew that this is not what she wants, but your concern was your friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is what every 12-year-old is thinking.
Exactly, because this is your crew. These are the guys you run with. This is an extension of your family, right? And for me, growing up, it was like me and one other guy, and we were always the two ringleaders around everything, and so a lot revolved around us, and
which gives you a lot of identity.
It does.
Right.
It does,
and
right?
Purpose and
exactly. And I felt that, and I needed that because it was that space was one of the only spaces that I had in my life where I wasn't talked about as a deficit.
Right.
Wow. Right. Good night.
Where it was just us and our thing, and we got each other, and we looked out for each other, rather than the deficit narratives that were constantly projected onto us our entire lives.
Yeah.
Right.
So
well, you don't, I remember you wrote in the book, you don't, what is it? Black men are guilty of being black men until they prove to society that their innocence through athletics or through some
whatever it might be. And
so you probably felt like in this circle, I don't have to prove innocence.
No, I can just be myself. And just be me, which was really, I'm really lamb-like, right? But I had to be lion-like to protect the lamb that I really was.
Wow.
Right.
And that's true for so many of my friends. It's still true for some young men today. I met a young man the other day, just complete angry, mean mugging, and and I said, man, I see you. I see you because I was you, and I know what that is.
Yeah.
I know that's just you trying to protect you. It's cool.
Do you think in your community at that time, and the kids you were running with, like, do you think that's a pretty simpatico thing with groups like that, where you find kids like you who you're like I always love. We were talking to a guest the other day, who's a big football player, and he loves comic books. There are these things that aren't really seen, that are a little more lamb-like, a little more sensitive, a little more artistic leaning.
Yeah.
And I think it's always so cool when you got these kids doing this one thing, but then somebody's like, hey, like, and it's sort of like the first little. Do you like this? And somebody's like, I mean, it's pretty cool.
How
Right.
dumb is this
Right.
comic book?
Right.
Once you get home,
But do you find that in those sort of in that world, there are those little links with people?
Listen, absolutely. So I'll give you guys a little secret. I love musicals.
Oh wow, that's great.
Love them. Like it's not many I have not seen.
Wow.
You name it, I've probably seen it.
Wow.
Even the ones that weren't on Broadway.
Wow,
It's just
that's amazing.
I love musicals, right? I love music. My father was a musician.
Wow.
Yeah.
He played the piano. I used to play the piano, the guitar, and the drums.
Oh wow. I was going to say you have to.
Oh yeah,
it's a family business.
I started off on the drums.
Yes.
At 5.
Yep.
Picked up the sticks and just started
Yeah,
playing.
that's it.
And I played every Sunday.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I love. That's one of my favorite stories about family churches.
Yeah.
Is like you're in the business young.
Yeah.
It's like
Period.
dad's up there like,
Let's
You're
go.
on the organ today.
Let's get it.
that's so amazing.
And so but I used to have to hide that.
Right.
I also used to hide my intellectual curiosity.
Man,
you couldn't tell
isn't
anybody
that
that
crazy?
you was really interested in
Yeah.
in math or science
Yeah.
or history.
Yeah.
That you actually read the assignment, that you did the work.
Right.
I would do the work and act and go to class and act like, yeah, nah,
Yeah.
but I actually did the
Yeah,
work.
did work.
Right?
Have some thoughts on
Such a,
that.
What
that's
tell
such a
them?
tightrope.
It
you
is.
have to walk.
It was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true today. I wouldn't know. My son would probably be a better person to ask about that, but which he didn't do. But that was the world I grew up in,
Yeah.
right? That was the environment I grew up in, and it led me to want to continue to hang with Raymond and those guys because there was no judgment. I got to be innovative.
Wow.
I really got to try things. If I messed up, they had my back.
Yeah.
You go to school, you make a mistake, punishment.
Yeah.
Right.
But on this corner, if I make a mistake, hey, little man, let me show you how to do that.
Yeah.
Let me show you. Okay, don't do it like that. Do it like this.
Yes.
Right. All right. Don't mess this up. Now, I'm not naive. If I would have messed up their money,
Yeah. That's
okay,
Yeah.
there would have been some.
Yeah. Some punitive.
There would have
damages.
been some punishment.
Yeah.
Right. But I was so involved and so dedicated and so curious about how it all worked that they were eager to show me.
Yeah.
So I boosted my first car. I was 12.
12.
I was 12, boosting my first car. Started boosting cars at 12. And I could be in and out in about 60 seconds.
That is amazing.
And they told me how to do that,
Yeah.
right? And, so if you ever lose your keys,
Hey, Mike, it's Dave.
I can help you.
Just a quick flyover, real quick.
I can help you.
Yeah.
And so, those were skills that we were trading because those were the skills that they had to use to survive. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? Because in our culture of punishment, don't break the law, right? We get that.
Yeah.
We understand that. But they had to create their own economy because there was no opportunity, regardless of how educated you were.
Yeah.
It was just really, really hard.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse. It's just a reality.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they created something where they could be entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And I was interested in that.
Well, I feel like a theme in the book is you talk about dreams a lot, and if I'm forgetting the quote. Was it the Langston Hughes quote about like if a dream dies?
A dream deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? But what I say is that the greatest injustice that can be imposed on the human spirit is to rob somebody of its ability to dream.
Yeah.
And so when we start taking dreams from people, like my first grade teacher did to me, right?
Yeah.
To tell me what I can't become.
Yeah.
I'm
Because you wanted to be a
years
lawyer, right?
old.
You
Yeah.
tell you want to be a lawyer.
I want to be a lawyer.
Which was the assignment, right? Everyone's supposed to say
It's
what
the
they
assignment,
want to be.
right? It's career day at school. They're going to have some people come in and talk about their careers, and you were supposed to give your report on what career you would like to have.
Yeah.
And so my grandmother was a huge Thurgood Marshall fan.
Yeah.
I mean, just, that's all she talked about was Thurgood Marshall, Thurgood Marshall. And so I heard about Thurgood Marshall, since I was like 2. And I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to actually, for a long time, I still wanted to be a business attorney, right? Because as I got older, I wanted to be Gordon Gekko. That's a whole nother.
Okay.
We got to come back for that story. but
did you see the whole movie?
Yeah, man, I did. But he was real cool at first, though. He was like, he was it. He was gold. And I was just like, that's a life I can have. And so, so anyway, I kept that in me for a long time, but what Miss Battle did was to impose upon my spirit that what I believed about myself was not true.
Right.
And that is detrimental to any human being.
Yeah.
And so, and it wasn't just a one-time thing. It was she is my teacher. Yeah, I'm with her every day. Yeah. And it's every day you're going to end up in jail.
Yeah, this narrative is...
You're going to, you can't sit still. You have, I'm a boy.
Yeah, that's right.
What boy sits still?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? And, it was this constant back and forth with her for, that entire year of my life. And then I get to the next class, and it's kind of the same thing, in second grade and in third grade. It's the same narrative, and it's just like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. And so I said, I didn't even know that he was French. That's what I said right to that whole crowd.
Gee,
I was losing it.
And none of them pressed charges.
No, well, 2, but
okay.
That's still to be seen.
You should probably not say anymore legally.
Oh, well, you know what? Instead, let's just wait for the sound. There it is. There it is. Yeah.
That sounds like a bat signal for unlocking your entrepreneurial dreams, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And today's episode is sponsored by Shopify, Dave.
Yep.
Which is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide.
Sorry. Yeah. No. I agree. So I'm a little distracted.
Okay?
Yeah. I was thinking about the potentially pending charges and everything.
Right.
Les problèmes. I don't
Wow.
I don't know if that's true or not. But I'm back. I'm getting my head in the game. Okay. John, Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can focus on successfully growing your business. John, it begs the question, if you had a Shopify shop online, what would you sell?
Oh, easy.
Okay.
I would sell audio copies of songs that I wrote and play on piano.
Love that.
Yeah. I'd also sell clothes with my name on them, along with pages and pages of dots that show you how to play said songs.
That's incredible. Well, now's the time to start that project, and I have a feeling that you already have. That's just
right.
Gut instinct, John. You have it, and you can't help that. You just know what to do. Listen, packed with industry-leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without having to learn any new skills in design or code.
That's right. Dave, what would your Shopify store sell?
Yeah, you can ask that. I should have seen that coming. Okay, I've narrowed it down to 2 different paths.
Okay.
Let me know which one you like. Okay, 1. Left-handed paintings of all of my favorite Arsenal players.
Okay.
So, because the right ones would be too good and detailed, just to get, and they get more artsy that way, okay?
Well, right-handed paintings, we're done with those.
Oh,
those are so 2022.
Oh, my gosh. And impressionist. We could digress. Or I would crochet custom beanies with your favorite dragons. I mean, literally John McLaughlin's favorite dragons.
My favorite dragons.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to run out quick.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed with the time that you've thought about that answer.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd go with the beanies, probably.
Okay.
The weather's been crazy around here, and I can't tell you how often I wanted a beanie with either Toothless or Maleficent on them.
Oh, well, it's always going to come down to those two,
it
isn't
always
it?
does. Yep.
Knowing you. What's incredible to me about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify is there to empower you with the confidence and control to revolutionize your business / take your business to the next level.
That's right. Now it's your turn to get serious about selling and try Shopify today, people. Sign up for a $1 per month trial. You heard that right. $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Dadville, all lowercase.
That's shopify.com/Dadville. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. So I say, write to him. Of course, that's my sheep. Just look at the eyebrows. And perfect Mandarin.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And this was all on your 10th birthday.
Yes.
Incredible.
9th or 10th, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, 9th is, it's not as good of a story.
Yeah. It's true.
I mean, that story, some people are going to say that's impossible. Not me, but some people. But you know what is possible, Dave?
Okay, if you're about to break the news about an Oasis reunion, my heart can't handle it.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. But close.
Oh, well. Okay.
It's totally possible to give your kids the right type of vitamins. And that's where today's sponsor, Hiya Health, comes in.
And listen, guys, in an exclusive scoop that we are just breaking now.
That's right.
We both have young kids.
We do. Yep.
Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment our kids need with the yummy taste they love.
Now, while most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Dave, we both know that.
Yep.
Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Yet, it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters.
Okay, just real quick.
Yeah.
We are for sure not announcing the reunion of Oasis, right? Just some.
Sadly, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
Okay, you need to get over that.
Okay.
But your kids will be super excited to take their vitamins because Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, which I know you love, B12, which you love even more, C, zinc, folate. I'm not even done.
Yeah.
Folate and
Yeah.
many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more.
I don't see making bedtimes easier or eating their vegetables on this list. Am I missing something?
Well, let's file that under brain function.
That's fair.
Right?
That's
But
fair.
get this. If you head to hiyahealth.com/Dadville, now this deal is only for Dadville listeners.
I can already tell it's going to be a good one.
Okay.
Come on.
If you head to hiyahealth.com/Dadville, you will get 50% off your first order. 50, Dave.
Mic drop.
Mic
Can you
drop.
and I get in on this deal too?
Yeah, but you got to use your alter ego.
Okay.
Brad Venus.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Listen, that's hiyahealth.com/Dadville to get 50% off your first order and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults.
Well, it really puts reading that part of your story, it puts just a different lens over the whole thing. And one of the quotes that Dave and I were talking about earlier this morning, how we were saying, like, this is a quote that everyone should know and everyone should, put into practice every day. It was, you said, be careful when you have a easy answer to a complex problem.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, for people who that was not their experience. They grew up seeing all kinds of examples of people, prominent people in the community or whatever, who look just like them. Mm-hmm. And they go to a school where their teacher looks like them and they're encouraged by their teacher, all that kind of stuff. It's like the system's working for them. Mm-hmm. And in your situation, you have all these dreams, you have all this energy, just like any other kid has aspirations and creativity and all that kind of stuff. And the situation you were in, the school was not fostering that. That was not a place where that energy was welcome. Yeah. And on the corner, it was welcome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, even today, right? The education system as we know it doesn't really personalize education. It's still one size fits all.
Right.
Right? And that is not the real idea of education. Right? The idea of education is to pull out the innate potential that is within. And each individual has their own unique potential.
Yeah.
Right? And learning styles.
Right.
Right? And creativity. And so since we only believe learning happens in the classroom, it kind of negates the power of that intellectual curiosity that each child has on their own. They come with it, right? They come out doing why, and touching stuff and figuring stuff out because that's them trying to search for what they have, right? Mm-hmm. And to learn their environment and their world. And so it would be phenomenal if we could just bring back the creative nature of the concept of education within our school system. I think it would look completely different for a lot of children, and then the system would work for more kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because ultimately, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work for every child right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for it to work for some and not for others, that doesn't work.
Well, and it just perpetuates.
Exactly.
Well, and you know what I think is so cool about your story, and I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but like that your incarceration, which happens when you're 19, 18.
18, yeah.
Okay. That education is what comes back into the story too. How it's redeemed to your dad's point. Like
Exactly.
there's redemptive. It's for such a long time it's more restricted, and then the judge says to you like, here's your choice.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that happens.
And
like
that,
that's just a great movie.
It is.
You know what I mean? Well,
it could be.
You need somebody to play you.
Anyone listening?
I look great on camera.
You look great on camera.
I can see some issues.
Well, whatever. Let's don't get that. Okay, let's
Yeah. So to give everybody the context of that of some of that story. So I become this athlete. 12 years old. All of a sudden, I find out, oh my gosh, like I can hoop. Like
I've never had that revelation
No.
of myself. Continue.
This is where you lose us.
Right.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I went out for Baltimore Youth Games, and Baltimore Youth Games is like AAU.
Oh
okay?
yeah.
So before AAU, it was the Youth Games, and each city had youth games, right? And so I went out for the Baltimore team, and you got like 100 guys trying out for like
play, I'm sure,
12 spots, and everybody can play.
Yep.
And it's my first time doing anything like that, just raw. And everybody's telling me, dude, you're not going these cats came out with a ball, okay? Like this one guy is 12, 14 now. This one guy, he's like 6'5".
Of course.
At 14, he's 6'5", right? And so I'm like, all right, but I get down to like the last 14 spots.
Dang.
And it's me and this other kid. It's Juan Dixon's brother, Phil. Juan played for the University of Maryland, and he played in the NBA. Half these guys actually played.
I was going to say
in the NBA.
Yeah.
Literally. And so the coach comes and sits me and Phil's brother, me and Phil down, and says, "Hey guys, you're not going to make the team, but you're going to be alternates."
Oh wow.
And he let us practice. The whole year we didn't get to travel, but we did get to practice.
Wow.
And he told me, he said, for you to just be starting to be where you are, you're gonna be out here one day.
Yeah.
And then my mom moved me, which means I couldn't play in the city while I was hot. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But I discovered a part of me that helped me to kind of step away from that criminal world for a second.
Oh, yes.
And
so that energy goes there.
So I took all of that anger, all of that energy, and I put it into sports.
Wow.
So I ran a 4.3 and a 40.
Jeez Louise.
Right? I had a 44-inch vertical or something like that. And like if you put a pin, I can't do it now, but if you would put a quarter up on top of the backboard, I could grab it.
Jeez.
So that's the equivalent of me jumping. And I was this size. Okay, at 17, 16, that fast. I'm only about 15, 16 pounds larger than my playing weight.
Wow.
When I was, that young.
Dang.
And so
coaches were just like salivating.
Oh yeah, man.
Well, especially like, were you going to school at your new neighborhood?
Yeah. So I was first. My mom sent me to private school because she sent me to a public school in Columbia. I got into a fight first day.
Yeah.
And then so she was like, okay, we're gonna put you in a private school. So she put me in private school, and that was fine. I did well there. And then finally, my senior year, I begged her. I said, just let me go to this this public school because all my friends were going to hoop that year and we were going to be really good.
Yeah.
So we were like top 15 in the nation back then. And we went all the way to states, lost. It was again just have some trauma from that.
What's the next book?
but you know, we were really good. And so the difference of how I was treated as an athlete compared to how I was treated as a student was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, just
because the value.
And how did you feel in the moment?
I felt all of the praise was disingenuous.
Wow.
Because if I wasn't dunking on somebody, or if I wasn't, you know,
it was conditional.
Yeah. You know, if I stopped performing, you're going to stop praising.
Yeah.
And it was all based on my performance athletically. And it wasn't until my senior year that an adult in school actually told me I was intelligent.
Wow.
And it was my athletic director.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this man loved this. And he's a white guy, and he was, I mean, the smoothest white guy I ever met in my life. Like, he was like Sean Connery, James Bond looking cat, right? Yeah. And he was like, I don't know, it was just something about this man that just, I could feel his authenticity. I could feel, you know, his genuine love for me as a human being.
Yeah.
And he would, every day, the moment I got to school, before he even saw me play, he just, you know, came and talked with me and, you know, kind of, because I only had one class that year, my senior year. And he helped me to see the world in a different light. And he doesn't know it, but he helped me also to deal with some of that anger that I had, right? Because I kind of just brought some of that down, and for the first time became a part of this community.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just being a loner.
Yeah.
And, you know, I embraced it a little bit. I embraced the school spirit. You know, I'm, you know, going down to the school paper and talking to people. I'm just doing the things that a normal kid would do.
Yeah, in a community.
In a community, right?
Yeah.
And so it was my senior year where he set me, and I cried. I'll never forget it, because he pulled me into his office and he told me that I was academically eligible to go to college. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was just like, dude, you're smart. Like, look at your grades. And I was like, I don't care nothing about no grades. He was just like, okay. He shut his door and he says, listen, you don't have to go to college on a athletic scholarship. You can go to college just based on your intellect, your merit. You've earned the right. He said, you qualify. And I teared up. I cried in his office, because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And he then brought in all these letters from all of these different colleges, you know, offered me scholarships, wanted me to come do visits. And I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it was a box. Wow. And I took them home and I started going through them. And so I'm calling the schools and I'm setting up college visits. It was really fun. And I wound up going to a D1 school to play ball. And the summer before my freshman semester, I decided to go home just for a couple of days to hang out with some friends. So I'm 17. I was going to be a true freshman and probably start as a true freshman with Big East basketball, right? And I go home for this visit, and we go out all night, we hang out, and when I became an athlete, well, first of all, I need to make sure I put this in context. I never did drugs, like ever, because I was there are two problems with that. The first one will make sense. I wanted to be aware of my environment at all times. Yeah. The second one is less pleasing. I am too vain to mess up how I look.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Hey, whatever keeps you.
I was gonna say.
I want all my teeth. I want my face to look the same.
Yeah.
I don't want to look jacked up. I'm sorry. I don't.
Right.
And so, and that's why I never did it. Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so no one was drinking or doing any drugs. It was just we partied all night, right? And we decided to go to an amusement park the next morning, which was a few hours away. So we had the bright idea at 5 a.m. after being.
Those things are never synonymous.
You know,
I just remember.
Bright idea.
I remember reading that part and thinking, like, God, This is such a young man's game.
Oh my gosh.
5 a.m. Like, you guys want to go to an amusement park?
That's like
hours
you
away.
You could put a 19-year-old in that room, and they would be like, "I'm only 2 years. This just doesn't feel like."
Guys, I'm pushing 20.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna head home.
Yeah. And it was like, and everybody was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "Bet." So we all get in the cars, and like a few people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna run home and grab a change of clothes." I was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah.
And so me and my friend, we were in a little 300 ZX, red 300 ZX.
I think they're all red.
With the T-tops, right?
I don't know if I've ever seen those.
And we jump in the car and we speed off, and we're going down the road. And I put the seat all the way back, and I pass out. I'm gone. And then next thing I know, I woke up in the hospital. So what happened was he fell asleep behind the wheel. And on that stretch of highway, there's like these rocks that come all the way down.
Yeah.
And so we hit the rocks
really
hard, and that spun us all the way across the highway to the guardrail. The guardrail was there, obviously, because there's a deep cutoff, right? And the 300ZX got caught underneath the guardrail.
Oh, dang.
And we hit the guardrail so hard that the seatbelt, now I had no airbag. This is how far we're going back. He had an airbag. There was no passenger airbag. The seatbelt contraption came out of the wall socket.
Oh, dang.
That's how hard we hit the guardrail, and literally just exploded across the face of my chest. My lower torso got caught underneath the dash of the car. My upper torso went through the windshield.
Oh my gosh.
So basically, when they found me, half of my body was in the car, half of my body was out of the car. And I woke up in the hospital.
So you don't remember any of that?
No, I don't remember. All I remember is hitting the rocks and trying to figure out, because we started spinning, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. And then it was just a boom, and I was out. And when I woke up, I was on a board, and they were rushing me into, I guess, with the surgery, because I broke my tibula and my fibula.
Oh, man.
My kneecap, they said it was shattered. It wasn't shattered. It was actually just dislocated, right? And my Achilles snapped.
Jeez.
3 toes were broken and a few bones in my foot, just fractured.
Was it all your right leg?
All my right leg.
Wow, okay.
My entire right leg. And I had a bunch of, 15 stitches in my arm, lacerations all over my face. And so here I am, I open my eyes, and all I can see is, this movement, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and they're lifting me off of this board onto a bed, and I can't feel anything, like nothing. So I think I'm paralyzed. Then they put me out, and so I wake up, I guess hours later, and I'm in the bed, and my leg is all up, and it's all casted up and everything, and I'm in a lot of pain. And I see my mom and everybody crying, and the doctor comes in and he tells me, son, you're never gonna probably walk normal again.
Dang.
And you're certainly not gonna play sports again. And that was devastating.
Man.
That was devastating. But me being me, I went through the rehab. I went to the recovery. The recovery was harder than the actual, pain of the event. The recovery was difficult because it was a constant reminder that the passport I thought I was going to have to the world is no longer valid.
Right.
And I attached my identity to being an athlete.
Right.
Now,
well, it's like the move that you did when you were 12. It's like, all right, now you got to have a new identity in this new place.
Exactly.
Then,
right.
9 years later, you got to have a new identity.
Right. Who am I going to be now?
Yeah.
Right. And will the world accept that version of me?
Yeah.
Right.
which was terrifying.
Yeah.
It really was. It was terrifying because I lost my scholarship. I got kicked out of school during the recovery because that's when I started drinking. So I drank every day.
Dang.
Every day. There wasn't that. Orange juice and vodka was my breakfast in the morning, and I just chugged vodka every day.
Dang.
Just to numb myself.
Yeah.
And I got kicked out of school, obviously, because I didn't go to class. And I went back home and tried to snap out of that. And some friends took me out to try to snap me out. And at that particular night, I ran into an old friend who, similar story, not quite as drastic as mine, but lost his scholarship, football scholarship, over some incident. Now he's back home. And I asked him what he was doing for money. And he said to me, I'm doing what I got to do, which I knew meant, okay, you're hustling. So I had saved up $5,000.
Wow.
Right? Well, you boost some cars and you
make some money. Yeah,
it's just some stuff, right?
Yep.
So I had saved up $5,000. That's what I had to my name. And I went in with him as a partner, and we bought a Kia cocaine.
Dang.
And we bought a Kia cocaine for about $16,000. And the next thing I know, the craziest year of my life happened, because we went from, he was just selling very small portions of drugs that he was getting from this guy.
Yeah.
I made a phone call to a friend that I knew that was really, really heavy in the game. And so that's how we got the key. And before we knew it, when we flipped that, next thing we know, man, we're moving heavyweight.
How much is that worth?
A Kia Coke
On the street, yeah.
about $100,000.
Yeah.
Depending on how many times you cut it. But the thing we did was we didn't cut our dope because we wanted to have a more powerful product so that we could control the market, right? Because we knew everybody was cutting their drugs, and we didn't want to do that. And then on top of that, we started selling crack. So that made it even better because it's, it goes a long, that key goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
And this was the height of the crack epidemic in the country. And we were rocking. So
what are you doing with that money?
You're flipping it, man, because honestly.
It's going back into a lot of it.
Yeah, because, and then you're spending it on dumb stuff,
Yeah.
Clothes, cars, girls.
Yeah.
Basically. And
Your
then
401k isn't booming.
No, there's no 401. There is no 401k plan for drug dealers. There is no benefits, no dental.
Sure. It's the opposite of dental. You're losing.
No,
dude.
man, you don't get none of that.
So what do you? How are you feeling through that year? Are you feeling like I'm curious, as when you were a kid and you're seeing Raymond on the corner and this is. Are you thinking this is like a viable option in life? You know what I mean? And when you're that year, when you're buying that kilo, are you thinking well, I'm just going to my plan B? This was always an option on the table, kind of a thing.
It was a few internal feelings. One, I was scared as hell
The whole time.
the entire time.
Yeah. Yep.
I just was terrified.
And I got to ask this
Yeah.
because of this is the other part of the scared question to address for you. Your periphery always is the church.
Yeah.
So is the spirit in there messing with you? Is that a part of it too? Is just that sort of spiritual thing that's happening? Where you're what you're doing is.
I don't belong there. I did not belong in that world, right?
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
I did. There was no reason for me to be there other than me believing this was the only path for me.
Path, yeah.
Right.
And to your question, yes, there's a constant tug and reminder, even from people.
Oh, and where's your mom? Like, what's she doing?
So she's there. So here's the story's gonna get worse, people. So here,
buckle up. You thought it was bad now.
So my mom is still forcing me to go to church, right? So I'm old enough to say no, but love her too much to do that.
Yeah.
So
and is she aware of what's going on?
She's not aware that I'm selling drugs, but she is aware that I am pretty much not myself.
Yeah.
Right? Because I became so dark and just so.
And when you're going to church, because of the community and it's tight knit, do people know what you're doing?
No.
They don't
At all.
Okay, so you're not walking in with people like
No.
side eyeing you.
No, I'm still Mike, the church boy.
So are you putting on that face when you go? Oh, okay.
So here's where it gets worse.
Okay.
I started using church as my cover.
Wow.
I got real smart. I went to church every Sunday. I started playing the drums again, volunteering, got a job, and just was on the up and up. Mm-hmm. You know,
the whole time.
The whole time, and nobody knew. I mean, nobody knew. A few friends knew.
Man,
but nobody.
Now this is a random question, but you're, for better, less clientele, they're not physically around that area. They're somewhere else.
No. And I'm on a completely different side of town.
So and that's obviously very purposeful.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when we
that's why that cover works.
Yeah. So when we created what is called Schoolhouse Rocks. So
you are kidding me.
The branding,
right?
Genius.
I know it's terrible, but it's also genius.
Right. So we took over an abandoned school building on the east side of Baltimore.
Bro,
we were
it's
selling
even punny and
crack
literal
outside of this abandoned school.
Doubled down on the brand.
Exactly. Right. And then we had about 4 or 5 houses across the street that we controlled. These were working addicts, people who worked every day but were on drugs, and so we just basically paid their rent or mortgage, and we had stashes within their basements, and then we gutted out all of their basements and connected them.
Bro,
wow!
And then
this is an operation.
We hid the drugs in the ceiling of the basements. So
this is, I just got to say this. This is what blows my mind about that stuff is like the amount of intellect.
Exactly.
It's just misguided.
Right.
But
Right.
it is so impressive. I mean, I know it's terrible.
It is.
But you know what I'm saying? Like any businessman, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I don't care how you walk into a situation, you're going to be like, these are some people.
This is impressive.
Yeah.
These people have some good ideas.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we had the corner store up at the top of the block. So this is Madison and Collington on the east side of Baltimore. So you have John Hopkins Hospital right here on the back side of it, right? You have Madison Avenue. And Collington is a one way in, one way out. There's a corner store, which is perfect for us.
I was going to say.
So there's a corner store, and then there is, this abandoned building, and there's the school. Then across the street are nothing but houses, right? 60% of those houses were not even occupied, right? And so now you have all these abandoned homes. Easy for us.
Man.
So you might have abandoned home, somebody lives there. Abandoned home, somebody lives there. Abandoned home, somebody lives there.
Wow.
So we started to take care of the houses, got false fronts on them, fixed them up, got it out the basements. And so we had tunnel system.
Dude, this is insane. Wait,
yeah.
are you? And I mean, and this is where I am about to turn into the most stereotypical white guy. But are you having to worry about your safety? Like every movie I've seen, I don't know that life, but I just know,
because
like, are you carrying guns? Are you guys like? Is
yes,
that a thing?
So we had security.
Oh my gosh.
We had our own security, but we also had protection. So the reason why we were able to do this on the east side,
you're paying somebody to,
is because really the main drug in Baltimore at the time was heroin. Okay, the guy that was probably one of the largest heroin dealers ever allowed us to come over there to sell crack because it was good for his business. Okay, because with every downer, you need an upper.
Jeez Louise, man.
Okay, so it was collaboration basically.
Are you having to pay him anything?
Yeah, he got a percentage.
Golly Moses.
We got protection, and nobody messed with us.
So so it wasn't something where, like, yes, you had security, but you're not Well, maybe you are. You stressed all the time?
You're stressed because you don't know what rogue individual is going to snap out on you that day and just try to, jack you. Right. But the thing was, I was never on the corner. I was
You're deep in it.
Yeah, I was either in one of the vans. See, we started to really branch out. And one of our friends, he had an electric company. So we leased his vans. And
as covers.
We would just sit in the vans as lookout. So our security would sit in the van. So we took turns.
Like my brain.
We took turns.
This is insane.
In a rotation, 4 of us, which were the 4 leaders, and we took turns on who would sit and watch the block that day.
I mean, is your heart rate at that point every day just like?
Nah, because really it's an open air drug market, man. And in Baltimore, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's not like, as long as, okay, here's a lesson in running drugs.
Okay. This has never been said on Dadville.
Okay.
This is
sorry,
really
Dadville people.
Yeah. Everybody's leaning in so hard right now.
Never be in the same place as the product.
For real.
So you can be in proximity, but don't be in the same place. So wherever they're cooking up the drugs, you just need to be in proximity. Just don't be in there.
Yeah.
If it ever gets raided, if it ever gets stormed, whatever, you're not there.
Yeah.
And so that was our, policy.
Yeah, mantra.
Basically. In the crew, we had about 60 guys working for us.
Good. 60.
And it was a little slow operation. And it happened like this.
And I mean, I guess that's why I'm terrified of Smurfs. Like, it's not even logical. It's just an abject terror.
Why do you keep dressing up like the Smurf then?
I guess it's because if I have to look at myself, I have to deal with it. But I'm terrified in the mirror every morning. Every morning.
Right. Okay. Can I get out of my Smurf outfit?
No, please. It helps.
Okay.
It helps. Okay. It's just itchy. No.
Anyway, Dave, I know we didn't talk about this at all last week. At all. But do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Okay, well, just first of all, we did talk about it, and so I guess one of my resolutions for you is maybe you listen better, but I actually do have some more I didn't talk about.
So your New Year's resolution is to get me to listen more?
When you put it like that, yes,
okay.
Honestly.
Okay.
Here's some other ones that I did talk about earlier because I was kind of scared to say them, but I'm just going to let them out. Here we go. I want to learn how to speak Klingon, okay? 2, I want to read exactly 27 books, John, this year, and that's not 28, and it's not 26, 27. And I want to finally figure out the chords to every song on the 1973 Frampton's Camel by one Peter Frampton.
Wow.
Yep.
How refreshingly specific, Dave.
You're welcome.
Well, one of mine is not to listen more, but it's to hydrate more. And listen, Dave.
Yeah.
Liquid IV is the perfect place for me to start.
Oh, no. I don't know, John. Afraid of needles. I don't know if you know it's called trypanophobia. I never know if I'm saying that right.
You are saying it exactly right.
Okay.
But good news. No needles are required here, Dave. Liquid IV is an award-winning hydration brand that fuels your well-being. And the hydration multiplier is the one product you're missing in your daily routine.
Okay, I heard IV and I got nervous, okay?
Yeah.
But that sounds great. I'm in. Talk to me about flavors. What are we talking about?
3 words, Dave. So many flavors. Okay. They have Concord grape, not just grape. Concord grape. Lemon lime, not just lime. Lemon lime. Pina colada.
Not
tropical,
just colada.
We got a lot to get here, Dave. Let's just stay focused.
Thought we had a little hook
Tropical punch, watermelon, strawberry, passion fruit, passionate passion fruit, guava, acai berry, etc. That means there are more.
Okay. No. Okay. Okay, check this out. 1 stick of liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficient than water alone.
Is water overrated?
Ooh, hot take. That's a scorcher. That's a scorcher, John.
Listen, it's made of premium ingredients, non-GMO, and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. And to date, Liquid IV has donated over 25 million servings in 50-plus countries around the whole world.
And guess what? I'm ordering some right now. Get that Concord grape in my guts.
Well, I hope you use the incredible deal Liquid IV has for our listeners, Dave. Grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or
You can even get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code DADVILLE at checkout.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll have to order more. Yep. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration Today using promo code DADVILLE at liquidiv.com. So okay, just for the sake of time, because I could literally, I could ask you 100 questions about this. And the fact that you are sitting here today as this fully realized human is, but how do you get? So where do you get arrested? What happened?
So we got caught really because two things happened. One, I started to say to myself, guys, this is not going to last. Okay, it never does. What are we going to do?
Yeah,
we have to scale up legit. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have to figure it out. Nobody want to do that.
I want to stay there.
So I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to find me out, right? So my plan was to get $250,000 and, basically relocate. And I met these girls who work for an entity. I'm going to keep all the names out of it. And they had access to information from people who were recently deceased. And so I'm sitting there listening because they're just talking, loose lips sink ships. And they're talking. And I go, really? So I give them $5,000 for a name. I said, give me a name, give me all their information, I'll give you $5,000. And they did. And it checked out. Social Security number, birth date, everything. And the person had just passed away. And so then I took that information and I applied for credit in that information, in that person's name, and voila, you got, $50,000, $20,000, $15,000, $100,000, just depends on the person, of capital. Do whatever you want with it, right? Because no one's going to pay for it. And that became my thing. Well, they got caught by the feds.
Oh, the girls?
Yes.
Oh, and then...
That's right. So then the feds were building a case, but not just against us, against the heroin dealer. So they're putting all of these pieces together. Now, we don't know we're being investigated like this, right?
Yeah.
Not to this level. Some kid running from local narc police, okay, just randomly, runs into one of our stash houses. One of my closest friends, we called him Showdown, one of my closest friends starts blasting off at this kid because he thinks he's coming in to rob us. But he's running from just narc cops, for a dime bag or something.
Yeah.
They come in blasting. My boy's blasting back. They shoot him.
Oh, my God.
He lived. He didn't die.
Okay.
They shoot the kid. Officer gets shot. And I find out. I get paged, and I'm like, dude, we got raided. And I'm like, what? So me and my partner, we decide we don't know what's going on. And so I asked, I said, where are you at? And he says, listen, man, I'm a head out of Dodge for a second until we figure it out. I said, all right, I'm going to do the same. We'll get up later. Well, all of this starts to bring down the federal case because now their case is, in jeopardy because we're not operating. So they decide to just come scoop everybody at that moment.
And they're getting names. And
So they already had our names.
Oh.
They had all our information.
Dang.
And they just didn't have all the pieces. But they had enough. And so they raided my mom's house because that's where I was living.
Oh.
Right. Technically. And they raided her house, and so my mom calls me.
But there was nothing there, though, right?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Never keep your product.
Dave, you're not listening.
Never keep your product in the same place as you.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. And so, because if you have nothing, then there's no charge.
Yeah.
So I never had drugs on me.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And so when they raided her house, my mom called me in complete tears. I still get knots in my stomach when I think about that. And because I can only imagine that this is her finding out for the first time.
Right. What a way to
that
find out.
her son is,
Your house is
raided. A darn, not just a drug dealer, like,
like running it.
Darn racketeer.
Yeah.
And so I went back to my job where I stashed money. I had a locker there, and I kept money in that locker. And I had like $50,000.
Sure.
And
just a cool 50.
And I jumped in my car, took the money, and I was headed south, right? Because I was trying to get to Cuba.
Oh, dang!
Wow.
Yeah, I had a passport and everything, dude. I had a strategy. I had an exit plan.
Holy cow!
How do you get out?
Yeah.
Right. And so you need a stash. You don't never know, somebody's gonna come throw you in the trunk. This sounds horrible, but ransom you, whatever. So you need some money. So that was my stash. I kept it at work.
I just gotta pause. This is one of the things that blows me away as you're telling the story. Is these are just the normal things you got to think about.
Mm-hmm.
That's you know what I'm saying? Like you're not thinking about like what you're thinking. Okay, obviously got to have an exit plan. Okay, what if somebody kidnaps me? Like that's what you're having to think about.
This is the equivalent of like, you want to make sure you have like a little fire extinguisher under the sink.
It's the world, and so it's the world you're in. You can't dabble in that world.
Yeah, right. Or yeah,
you have to be all in or not.
Yeah.
If you dabble, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay. Because somebody's gonna get you.
Yeah.
And you really have to just jump all in, which is why most people don't make it. Mm. And so anyway, I jumped in my car and I decided to just get down to Florida. I can make it to Cuba, and I can just hide out.
Yeah.
I can live decently with this $50K for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, until I figure out my next move, right? And I had other money. I had other stash money.
Yeah.
But this is the quickest I could get my hands on. So I'm like, all right, cool. We'll figure it out. My mom calls me on a Nextel two-way. Okay. So remember those?
Yes.
So my mom hits me up on the Nextel two-way, and she's like, "Baby, where are you at?" I said, "Ma, I can't talk. Get off the two-way. I'll call you later." And she's like, "No, turn around. Wherever you are, just come back home. We can face it together." And I said to her, I'll never forget it, I said, "There's no facing this. If I face it, I'm done." I said, "So I'll call you later." So I was at a Bob Evans. Okay, I'll never forget it because I had to get something to eat. And I was already in Virginia by this time.
Okay, I was going to say, you're... Yeah.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah.
No looking back.
Yeah.
Because that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to, when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Time to go.
And so I get in my car, and I'm at this very busy intersection on I-95 going south. You can either go to towards Virginia Beach, or you can keep going towards Richmond. And I get in my car, and for whatever reason, I decide to turn around.
God, dude.
And I'm going, you can't live this way, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It's federal, dude. They're going to find you.
Yeah. And then it's going to be worse.
They're going to find you.
Jeez Louise.
And then I said, you don't even know what they have. You don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. You should at least lawyer up and go back, right? And so that's what I did.
Dude, in that moment, are you thinking,
thank you,
I'm going to have to do jail time for the rest of my life?
No. So here's my thought. I don't have a record.
Uh-huh.
There is no violent offense.
Yeah.
I was not in proximity to any drugs.
So all that's a part of your thinking. You're familiar enough with
what are they going to prove?
So you're driving back. You're not thinking, I'm busted. You're thinking there is a chance this could shake out to where I'm okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is, okay,
God.
who do they have? Who's going to talk, right?
So are you trying to find this out on the drive? Like, are you?
No, I'm just thinking through
Okay.
it because I knew my boy was gone. I knew Showtime was shot. This guy we used to have, he was the muscle. He was our security. He was actually shot and killed, but he was shot and killed over a girl. It had nothing to do with.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with what was going on with us. He got into some argument.
Okay, I have to ask a couple questions. When they raid, when Showtime and the kid gets shot, do they have access to all your houses, and do they raid all of them?
Yeah.
So
do they even know what they had there? Did they know where they were?
So the feds did.
But these local
The
cops
narcos
didn't
did.
know.
Oh, okay. See, this, man.
Yeah.
This is a movie.
The narcs knew nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more question, because I got to know how this is. Obviously good, 'cause you're here, but like for everybody listening. So you're in the car. Do you know they've raided all your houses?
Yeah.
When you're driving back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that. Here's what I know. We got raided. So at first it was like, who did the raiding, right? Then when my mother called me and said the feds raided her house, I said, okay, this is the feds.
Yeah.
Right. They got us, right? And I'm like,
which you said contributes you going back. 'Cause you're like, this isn't low level. Like I'm dealing with. They're gonna find it.
It's the federal government.
Yeah.
Where you
pit
going?
bulls.
Where you going?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no running.
Yeah.
Okay, they're gonna get you. And so I said, okay, let me just go back, face the music. No record, not a violent offender. I literally have no dealings with the criminal justice system. Okay, other than a few instances in school, right?
Yeah.
And it was also criminal how good you were at basketball, but I digress.
Right. And so I said, okay, all right, let's just figure it out. So I got a lawyer. We decided to turn myself into the Howard County Detention Center, this cream puff local jail, right?
Sorry, I got to know these details. So you get back to town.
Yep.
You go to your mom's place.
Yep.
Y'all sit now. Obviously, have some kind of conversation. Do you
Yes.
fess up to her?
Yeah. So she meets me at another Bob Evans.
Oh, look at you, man! Thinking about this.
And I said, meet me at
because they would have had people at her place.
Exactly. I said, meet me at Bob Evans. Okay. We'll sit and talk through it. And I told her everything.
We should have Bob Evans sponsors.
And she cried.
Oh, bro, how hard was that conversation?
She cried so hard at that table. The last time I heard her cry that hard was when my father died.
Oh.
And so I felt like less than nothing that I did this to my mother, and that I did this to my family, that I did this to my grandmother and all the people who sacrificed for me to have a chance at life.
Yeah.
And I felt like nothing. And so she said, baby, we're going to face it together. And she sucked up her tears and did what mothers do and somehow encouraged me in that process while she's dealing with her own pain.
Jeez.
And so I told her what my plan was. I had already contacted an attorney. I said, you don't need to give me any money. We're going to try to get bail. And whatever the bail is, I'll get it posted because I got the money. And she was just like, well, how do you, now she's like, well, how do you have this? And how you, I'm like,
Well, the less you know.
We'll talk about that later, right?
Yeah.
And so my attorney says, listen, go to Howard County Detention Center, turn yourself in, do it over the weekend. You'll be out by Monday. So I said, bet.
Tell me this. I'm sorry I have all these questions. What is best case scenario as you and your lawyer are talking? Best case scenario is you go in, they go, oh, we have you connected to these houses, but we actually don't, like, they can't substantiate that claim in a perfect world, or they go, hey, you give us some tips. Well, you can.
It's all hearsay because all they had was me. All they had was me in pictures with, a few people.
A good lawyer's like.
Exactly.
So you're thinking that I can get out of here. Okay.
I'm thinking that I'm going to do a few days. They're going to ask me to talk. I'm not going to talk. unless they're going to charge me whatever they're going to charge me with, I'll let the dice roll.
What was the risk in not turning yourself in?
If I didn't turn myself in, it would have gave more time for them to build a case.
Okay, I got you.
Because now they got witnesses. They got the girls. Okay, they got a lot of our little guys. These guys are going to flip on you because, who's going to do 10 years?
Yeah.
Right.
Over, like no way, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, if I can get out in front, of that, I might be okay. I might do a year or two. I can live with that.
Okay.
I can live with that, right?
Okay.
It's not that bad.
Okay.
Right? Since I think about my story. Lost my scholarship, in some pain, made a few bad choices around some wrong people.
Yeah.
So that was the, what we thought. So here I go. I turn myself in. They, process me and all that good stuff. Take your fingerprints, take your picture, and put me in jail. So I'm like, this ain't nothing. Next morning, it's a Saturday morning, the Fed show up, transfer me.
Uh-oh. You're like, this wasn't part of the plan.
I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, call my attorney. They transfer me and they ship me to this place called The Cut.
That doesn't sound
great.
No, it's Shawshank Redemption on steroids.
Oh,
bro.
man.
It's not a game.
Yeah.
And then they put me in a 23-7 cell. 23-7 just means that you can't come out your cell but for 1 hour a day.
Dang.
And you're on lockdown, basically. And the charge is a RICO charge.
What does that mean?
So this is for racketeering. It's the RICO charge is what you give to mob bosses.
Oh my gosh.
That's what you give to,
it's like a heavy
cartels.
Oh my gosh.
It's 30 years to life.
Michael.
That's the charge.
What's the moment when you found that out?
I found out that morning.
I mean, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm done.
Yeah.
Because if you built a RICO case against me, you have all the evidence you need.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You don't build that case without the evidence.
Right.
So what else do you have? You guys have to have it all.
So this is it. This is game over.
Game over. Game over. And when they put me in that 23-7 cell, totally different experience than the jail, right?
Right.
Prisons and jails are two different things.
Yeah.
So I was in a jail.
Yeah.
They shipped me to prison.
Yeah.
And when they shut that door, the eerie clank of that door, it's a sound you'll never forget.
Yeah. So you're looking around the cell thinking, this is the next 30 years of my life.
I'm thinking that my destiny is going to be written on those cinder block walls.
Golly Moses.
Ooh. And so how long were you in that prison cell?
6 months.
6 months of pre-trial detention.
That's not even actually.
Oh my gosh.
Pre-trial.
So this is 6 months of not even knowing what your fate is.
They denied bail.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even post bail.
Yeah.
They cited that I was a flight risk, and I'm like, dude, I'm 18. Where am I going? I'm not John Gotti. Like, where am I going? And so, the whole thing really was that they had this case against this heroin dealer. They had an informant from him.
The big guy you referenced.
Exactly. That's what they really wanted. And so they had an informant from his team telling everything.
Oh, yeah. My gosh.
And that's how they built their case. So, the good thing for me, though, there's two things. I was never seen exchanging anything with him.
Okay.
There was never any, even though we were in business together, there was never any tangible proof of that. So it was just the word of the witness.
Okay.
But in the Fed's eyes, I was a small fish that they didn't really care about.
But you don't know this though.
Not at that time.
So
this is in hindsight.
What are you doing every day? Like, how are your days spent in that scenario?
A lot of push-ups and jailhouse squats.
Gosh. I mean, are you reading? Like, can you have books and stuff, or
Only book I had was the Bible.
for real? So,
And what was that? What was that like? Are you reading?
So I talk about it in the book, right? That, you know, I accepted my plight
Yeah.
because I did it.
Right.
And if this is the outcome, so be it. And it took about 3 or 4 months before I picked up that Bible.
so you would just literally sit there,
All day.
just sit there.
Hmm.
I can't imagine something worse.
In this little cell with a little bit of light at the top. But for a lot of time to think about my life, where it went wrong, how did I get here? Yes, I had choices to make, and all those things that we talk about in our wonderful world of rugged individualism. But it was not. It's, to oversimplify that would be an injustice.
Right.
I had a lot of trauma that was never acknowledged, ever in my life. And I sat there thinking about those things, the stuff I saw, things I was exposed to, how hard it is to become what you never see, but how easy it is to become what you're always exposed to. So being exposed to this world constantly was easy for me to do.
Right.
Because it was in my world.
Yeah.
And I saw people that were successful, quote unquote, in it.
Yeah.
So I figured I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? So you're in there 6 months.
Yeah. So 6 months pre-trial detention, and the reason I call it pre-trial detention is because I'm not charged yet officially.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Officially, there's been no arraignment. I'm just being held in this facility until there is the arraignment, the charge, and then a trial date.
And you gotta wait longer.
You gotta wait longer, right? And this could take years.
Jeez.
That is so crazy.
This could take years. That's the system, right? And so, me and my smart self, I'm thinking that's going to be the case that's going to work in my favor because they're going to give me bail. I'm going to post bail. It's going to be like 2 years before a trial. By that time, I can figure a whole lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
Right.
That didn't happen. So here I am just sitting in jail and contemplating all of the scary things that one would contemplate there, right? Are they going to put me in general population? Somebody going to come at me? If they do, I'm going to have to take care of my business, and now I might be in here longer. All these things are wrestling through my mind. And so they didn't do that. They kept me isolated. And I started to read the Bible again. And in reading the Bible again, I could hear my Father. I could hear his voice. I could hear his preaching. Some of that hardened heart began to soften. And I could feel God again.
Yeah.
Just feel him again. Feel his presence again. And I didn't pray. I didn't get on my knees and go, if you get me out of this one, I didn't do that.
Right.
I really didn't. I really just said, okay, God,
You had accepted it.
this is it.
Yeah.
I did it. This is it. This is what my life is going to be. And how can I now have, I'm such a forward thinker. How can I have a life after this, right?
Right.
Depending on how much time I get, what are my next steps, okay? And that's where my mind was.
Yeah.
So on a Sunday, the CO, correction officer, comes and gets me out of my cell. Now, nothing happens on a Sunday in jail at all. And so I'm thinking, we had some words, me and the CO, a few times. And so I'm thinking, I'm about to catch a beating from this guy. Like, he's taking me somewhere to give me the business.
Where there's no cameras,
Right. And so he's not talking, he's not saying anything. And I'm chained, my hands and my feet are chained and they're linked together. So, and so now I'm trying to think, how can I defend myself in this posture, and how how I'm gonna use this chain.
Yeah.
Right. And those really were my thoughts. And then I see the van, and he puts me in the van, and I'm like, where am I going, man? And he's just like, man, just go ahead, get in. So the next guard takes off, and I'm in a van by myself. So I'm thinking, am I being transferred again? Okay. There's stuff in my room I didn't get. Like, what's going on? We wind up going to a federal building in Baltimore, and they take me to the judge's chamber. And the first thing I notice is that the judge has no nameplate, which is weird to me.
That is weird.
Right? And he had a picture of the Vitruvian Man, Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man.
Oh, yeah.
Over his desk. And so I'm sitting there staring at the man. Now, my attorney's there, the prosecutor is there, and there's this other man there. I don't even know who he is. And, I say hi to my attorney, and he's like, just relax, it's okay. And I'm like, okay. Judge comes in, seconds later, sits down, says, son, you can either go to jail or you can go to school. Which one do you want to do?
Was that the easiest decision you ever
Which one?
And I
Were you like, well, is it a D1?
Right.
What are we talking about?
Right. Like, well, it's like,
Do you have any
how's
pictures
the
of
food at the cafeteria? What's the dorm look like? Right?
Where is it just nationally? Is it
Right.
coastal? Yeah, I'd love some beach.
And I said, I want to go to school, sir. And he said, this guy's name's Bill Owens. He had this program that he went around the country helping young men like me, young people like me, go to college instead of go to prison. And he had this partnership with Oral Roberts University. And so he was there. And he had already went to my mom's house and, got all this information and so forth. So the judge actually had all of my college letters and stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
Right there. And he says, I heard you're quite the athlete, and he talked about my life a little bit, and he says, we're going to put you in this program. And the thing I love about the judge is that he did not belittle me.
Yes.
Yeah.
He didn't even berate me. He told me, he said, this is a chance of a lifetime, son.
Jeez.
And he told me to not throw it away. And that was it. He didn't go into some deep, long, explanation or point a finger. He didn't do that. He just said, this is what we want to do for you. And to me, him not having a name and that Vitruvian Man over his desk was almost like God saying to me, this is how my grace works.
Oh, jeez.
This is how my grace works.
Yeah.
There's no explanation to grace.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And isn't that how we come to God?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't belittle us. He doesn't berate us. He just says, here's an opportunity.
Man.
And it's up to us to accept it.
Yeah.
And I chose it that day. And it changed my life forever.
Golly Moses.
Forever.
That is insanity. Okay, so let me say this because I'm thinking about your time. I will put this out. This is what I think we should do if you can.
Yeah.
I think
we
we
need 3 more hours.
I'm telling you,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
This is what I think we do. I think we call it because you got to do this thing, and then if you're cool with doing a remote, because we do everything on remote,
Absolutely.
we got to get part 2.
Absolutely.
Because we have a million questions.
Would love to do it.
Is that okay?
I would love to do it.
Dude, that is
Absolutely.
that is like
Absolutely.
that is insane, man.
Yeah, would love to do it, man. It's just, it's my life, and perhaps there's somebody with similar, dealings, or perhaps just can relate in some way, shape, or form. But there's so many parts to our collective stories, and I say in the book that at some point, my story could have been told by a million different people a million different times, simply because trauma and suffering and pain, they're all common, right? It's a human experience. And often we don't lean into that human experience because we're so busy, particularly Christians trying to be spiritual.
Yeah.
Right.
Man.
But this is what we have to realize. Just now I'm speaking to Christians, right? That you're not a human being trying to have a spiritual experience. This is where religion gets it wrong. You are a spiritual being first.
Yeah.
That must have a human experience.
Yeah.
And in my human experience, the person that God created, breathed life into, had to take this journey to discover that part of himself, that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, that God put me on this earth for a reason. And through my experiences, it brought me back to him. And it's okay. It's okay.
You know, the thing, I was talking to friends about this yesterday, just like how we get so wrong, you know, to your point, I think, like, you cannot read that Bible that you had in your cell and the Bible, you know, that we read and not see that as consistent. That is, all the heroes of our faith and the heroines of our faith are all stories that are actually more like yours than not in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And yet God doesn't blink an eye in his wanting to use those people.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that grieves me that the church doesn't really lean into enough, is that we really want to focus on the strengths of these people and forget the weaknesses, when I think God's like, no, the story doesn't make sense if you do it that way.
Yeah.
That's not what I do.
Right.
Like, I'm not going because, no, he's going to have some, we'll just deal with it. He's like, no, this is my guy.
Right.
This is Dave. This is John. These are my people. And I use all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, none of it scares me. None of it shocks me. None of it discredits the story, you know?
For the cross to be the hallmark image of our faith should tell us
yeah, it's not a wallet,
that God is not
not
afraid
a golf course.
of the mess of life.
Right.
That's it, man.
You know,
That's it.
for Christ to be crucified between two thieves, should tell us that it's okay, and he offers both of them eternal life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. After all that.
How do we not think about
After
that
all
every
that.
single day?
After all that.
You know?
Man. You're preaching.
And they're guilty.
Yeah.
As can be.
Yeah.
It's like,
Isn't that great?
Wow.
Isn't that great?
So, you know, I'm grateful for my story. I'm grateful for the God that I serve, and I'm certainly grateful to share some of this with you guys and your audience.